said this. You said that you want to become an entrepreneur. You said God called you to do greater things. You said that this is what God has called me to do. Entrepreneurship is hard. And I'm saying that from experience. I'm in the boat with you. You feel like you need to be that of what you see on social media. You feel like you have to pose in front of a Bentley, pose in front of a Ferrari. The finish line of entrepreneurship seems so far-fetched when you see stuff like that. I'm not saying all of this for you to quit, but you have to keep going. You have to keep going. Welcome to another episode of the Legacy Inspired Podcast, where I am your host, Randy. It's another day above ground, and I'm so happy for you to be here on another episode, hanging with your boy. Listen, today's episode, I just want to be transparent, if you don't mind. I want to be transparent because we live in a day and time where there's a lot of fluff, right? There's a whole lot of fluff on social media, and this entrepreneurship thing is not what it's hyped up to be. Let's be honest, it's not what it's hyped up to be. You own social media, and all you see is Bentleys, cars, Bentleys, Rolls Royce, all of these exotic cars. And you see all of these gurus posing in front of these cars. And across the board, that is defined as entrepreneurship. But the real thing is that really entrepreneurship? Is standing in front of a Bentley, talking about what you do, is that really entrepreneurship? I mean, let's be honest. Is it really entrepreneurship? And when you look at it, the finish line of entrepreneurship seems so far-fetched when you see stuff like that. And what begins to sit in is imposter syndrome. You feel like you need to be that of what you see on social media. You feel like you have to pose in front of a Bentley, pose in front of a Ferrari, pose in front of a Rolls Royce, or whatever type of vehicle it is. And that's really not entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is hard. And I'm saying that from experience. I'm in the boat with you. And when you look at it from this perspective, you begin to really change the way you think. You change the way you look at this thing. And I'm not saying all of this for you to quit, but you have to keep going. You have to keep going. Because at the end of the day, you said this. You said that you want to become an entrepreneur. You said God called you to do greater things. You said that this is what God has called me to do. God has called me to be a creator. God has called me to be a social media manager. God has called me to run Facebook ads. God has called me to create online courses. God has called me to do all of these things. And what happens is we allow social media to dictate what entrepreneur really is. And when we begin to do that, it is easier for us to quit. It's easier for us to throw in the towel. It's easier for us to say, listen, what's the point of even going? And I'm going to be honest, this last couple of weeks has been hard for me. These last couple of weeks have been hard for me because I didn't feel like creating content. I don't know what it was or what it is. Sometimes you get in that mode where you just don't even feel like creating. And I had to tell myself, listen, Randy, you got to create your content because it's connected to your legacy. It's connected to your legacy. And the reason it's connected to your legacy is for this reason and this reason alone. if you die today and you don't have video documentation on what you have created, or you don't have some type of tangible, something that's tangible that people can grab a hold to, put in their hands, experience on video, experience in a digital platform, then what was the point of creating it? Because at the end of the day, creating content, not for myself, but for my children and for my children's children. I believe that's what legacy is all about. Yes, it's about impacting people. Yes, it's about leaving a positive imprint on people's lives. But at the end of the day, I'm really creating this for my children. I'm creating this for my children. I'm blessed with a wonderful wife. She's a stay-at-home mom. She works harder than I do. And I'm still working a 9-to-5. And it's funny because I work in retail. And I work in the cell phone industry. And I find myself talking to my customers, letting them know how much I appreciate my wife. I don't know why. I don't even know how I bring her up. But every now and again, I bring her up in the conversation during the transaction. And I find myself talking to my customers about my wife. She's a stay-at-home mom. We also homeschool, because even during the pandemic, you didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know what was going on. We had never seen this before in our lifetime. And so we made the decision to homeschool our kids. It was a hard decision. But let me tell you how God works. When we made that decision to homeschool our kids, I want to say that next week in our district, in the township or county we live in, the teachers got sick with COVID, and even the children got sick and they had to send them home. They shut down the entire district. Not too many days before, we decided to homeschool our kids. Now, we were already educating our kids, giving them biblical education, because the Bible says, train up a child in the way that he should go. Then when he gets old, he should not depart from it. So we were already training them up in the things of God. But we were also giving them the basic traditional education as well. Before school age, I have an 8-year-old daughter, 6-year-old son, with one on the way. I said it, with one on the way. 6 months pregnant as we speak. And back to the conversation, I will always find opportunities to bring up my family. It's not that I just want to talk about it, but I want to remind myself that I have a wonderful wife who works harder than I do at what she does. That's why I'm creating this. That's why I am doing this podcast. If I don't make a dime from it, at least I got off of my hands and I didn't allow what God put on the inside of me to die with me. So that's why I'm creating this content. The last couple of weeks have been hard for me personally, because I didn't feel like creating content. And I gave myself excuses on why I shouldn't create content. But I had to remind myself of why I started in the first place. And that's what you have to do. You have to create You have to figure out why you got started in the first place. And when you begin to hold on to that, that will give you more momentum to pursue everything God has put on the inside of you. Don't let the very thing that God put on the inside of you before the foundations of the world die with you. Don't allow that to happen. Don't allow that to happen. You owe it not only to yourself, you owe it to God, you owe it to the people that are connected to you. You owe it to the people that are connected to you. I was listening to a conversation, a podcast, and it was around this subject of not quitting. Is entrepreneurship the thing? Because it's a trendy word. It's a trendy term. Everybody want to become an entrepreneur. Everybody. Especially during the pandemic, there were more millionaires created online than ever in history. Than ever in history. And even on in the online space, and I shared this on previous episodes, the online space is going to boom. It's going to skyrocket $325 billion. And just imagine getting just a slither of that. Just a slither. You cannot quit. If you are working a 9 to 5, still continue to work that 9 to 5. Don't be getting off this video talking about Randy told me to quit my 9 to 5. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. As much as you want to, trust me, I know the feeling. As much as you want to, continue to work that 9 to 5. Shout out to my guy. I had him on the episode, Storm Leroy. Shout out to you, sir. Shout out to you. He said your job is your first business partner. Your job is your first business partner. That's why you have to continue to work your job. And when you begin to wake up in the morning, or even if you work at night, just keep in mind that your job is your first business partner. When you begin to put on your clothes and get ready for work, just tell yourself that I'm going to meet with my first business partner. I have to constantly tell myself that, because sometimes I don't even want to go, because my desire is to be at home with my family. My desire is to be at home with my wife and kids. And I refuse to allow this child that's going to be born to not even see me. I don't want my kids to look past the front door and see who their father is. That's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking. So I have made it a choice. I made it my decision to keep going. Yeah, they say entrepreneurship is not for everybody, and that's fine. But I know I've been put here on this earth to solve a problem. That's all entrepreneurship is. That's what I've learned. And I'm utilizing this platform to document my journey. What is easy to you, but harder for others? What become easy to you, but harder for others? That, my friend, is your antidote to really do some digging on the inside to figure out what is easy to me. I know you're a jack of all trade, and that's wonderful, but choose one. Choose one and figure out the problems in that arena and begin to solve those problems with solutions and answers. You clicked on this video because you felt like quitting. Don't quit. Can't quit. If I cannot quit, you can't quit. I refuse to quit. Just got these hoodies done to remind me of the reason why I started this podcast. Of the reason why I started this journey, to remind me. I don't care if nobody ever wear this. That's fine. I'm wearing it for myself to remind myself that I have to do this. It is my obligation. I'm obligated to make this work. Come hell or high water, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to figure it out. I got to move through the mud. I got to maneuver through the rubbish and try to figure this entrepreneurship thing out. That is what I'm going to do. That is what I'm going to do. I'm going to bump my head. You're going to bump your head. You're going to run into so many brick walls. You're going to fail so many times. The most successful people were once failures. Once failures. But I have to keep going. I have to keep going. And if I cannot quit, you can't quit. Nope. 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 You didn't click on this video to say I'm a quitter. No, you're not quitting. You're not quitting. You're not quitting. I remember when I was in college and I graduated. The Lord blessed me to graduate from the University of Michigan. That's where I'm from Michigan. Shout out to all the Michiganders. I'm from Michigan. And I attended the University of Michigan, and I mean, wasn't, a 4.0 student. I wasn't that type of student. I made decent grades, but then there are some classes that I struggled in. I just struggled. I struggled because the expectation of every university is you're supposed to pass every class, at least more than a C. Sometimes they don't even count that. But then there were classes that I really struggled in and I really failed. And I had to, sometimes I would drop out of the class before it was too late. And then I ended up signing back up for the course because it was mandatory to take that course for graduation. And I remember all of these bad grades caught up with me. I didn't skip class. Let the record show I did not skip class. I didn't fail because I didn't do the work. I tried to do my best. Just like you're trying now. Just like you're trying to figure out this content thing. Just like you're trying to figure out this entrepreneurship. I failed. I failed miserably. I failed so much to the point where I was dismissed from the university. I received a letter saying, Randy, you have been dismissed from the university. What did you do? It caught up with me. And so I was gone. Had to go back to the community college to get my grades up to par. And then I was able to go and connect with a lady who I had met when I first got on campus. She was in a different position. Her name was Mary Jo. I had met Mary Jo the first time I was on campus that I started at the university. She was in a different position. But when I went to see Mary Jo this time, I later found out she became the vice chancellor because I was told to go look for the chancellor to see if I can get readmitted back into the university or re-signed in, if you will. But when I found out who the vice chancellor was, I said, Mary Jo. I said, wow, I didn't even know, because I had stopped seeing her on campus. And when I walked into the room, she said, Randy, how are you? What can I do for you? And I told her my situation. And to my surprise, because of her, I was admitted, I was re-enrolled, if you will, back into the university. And not too many weeks later, I was able to graduate. And I give God all of the glory. I give God all of the praise, because He allowed me to graduate. When people thought I was a failure, when people said I wasn't going to amount to be anything, I had to prove, not to them, but to myself. But to myself, that I can do it. And I'm taking this same mentality into this arena called entrepreneurship. Taking the same mentality doing this podcast. I can't give up, because I want my legacy to mean something. You have to let your legacy mean something. You have to make your legacy mean something. What does your legacy, what does it mean to you? You have to ask yourself that. You have to ask yourself that. Can nobody tell you but you? You have to do some soul searching. You have to search within it, on the inside, and figure out why did I start this? Why am I making these shirts? Why am I selling this jewelry? Why am I making these clothes? Why am I doing this content? Why am I on social media? It's not for the likes, it's not for the views. It gotta be deeper than that. Forget an algorithm. Focus on your audience. Focus on your audience. Focus on the audience and continue to figure it out. Continue to connect with people that know more than you. Because it makes no sense to be the smartest person in the room. There's no growth, there's no development, there's no evolvement. So you gotta figure it out. You gotta figure it out. And fill your way up to the top. Fill your way up to the top. Listen, you just listened to another episode of the Legacy Inspired podcast, where I am your host, Randy. Listen, I'll see you on the next episode. Grace and peace.